Hey guys, this is Blue Forest. I hope you're doing well. So today I am doing a bit of a strategy guide, particularly for beginner players or for players who maybe played for a bit and are returning to the game after an absence. I want to give you a series of tools and tips and strategies, just things to think about when you're playing, particularly in those first 3 to 6 months. And I want to just give you some useful information that I wish I had had when I was starting out to make the process go more smoothly for you, to help you to avoid certain mistakes. You are going to make mistakes when you play this game, but you want to minimize them and to make progress more quickly. Okay? So there's a lot to cover here, but I want to start with talking about gold and energon, two premium currencies in this game, which you are always going to need no matter what. Okay, so Energon, the purple cubes, very important, useful for a lot of purchases that you can make in this game. And there's a few ways that you go about getting Energon. The first and easiest way, perhaps, is the daily objectives combined with watching ads. So in the daily objectives, which update every 24 hours, if you complete 7 of those, which you will pretty easily, you will get 10 free Energon. And then in watching ads, when you watch 4 ads, you will get 15 Energon. Okay, and then when it comes to ads, this purple box here, these reset every 12 hours. You can watch 3 of those ads every 12 hours for a total of 6, and you get 4 Energon per ad. So just by doing those two things, you can get about 50 Energon per day, 49 to be exact, and I highly recommend that you do so. There's a few other ways that you also get Energon. One is through the story and special missions. So the story, you have 4 acts in this game. When you're a newer player, you will be working your way through them, and you will be getting 10 to 15 Energon for completing each sub-chapter within chapters. And you will also be getting Energon for the time slides, the special missions that generally come out twice a month, usually every 2 weeks, occasionally every 3 weeks. You have 4 difficulties, and you'll be starting out with probably novice and captain, but once you're a better player, you will work up to commander and prime, where the rewards are better. But you do get a similar amount of Energon for all of them. So for novice, captain, and commander, you see that you have 1 chapter with 3 missions. And so when you complete the mission, you will gain 10 Energon per mission. And when you explore it, you do every lane in the map, you will get 15 Energon. When you reach the point where you're doing prime, the hardest difficulty, you will get 15 Energon for completion and 20 Energon for exploration. And so once you're at the point to where you're exploring all of these difficulties, or most of them, you can get hundreds of Energon per month that way. And then I also want to highlight arena crystals. So I recommend that you do start doing arenas early on. You have different types of arenas. They can give shards, they can give sparks, they can give crystals, they can give ore, energon, different arenas. And in fact, a lot of the rewards for arenas are actually more beneficial to newer players. But one of the rewards that's universal in them are the arena crystals. So these here in the middle. And you get them by achieving milestones. The milestones in arenas go up to between 1.5 and 3 million points, depending on the arena. Now, you're not going to be doing millions of points at the outset. You're not going to have enough of a roster to do that, but that's fine. If you start grinding arenas even a little bit, you can pick up a lot of arena crystals pretty easily. You can get dozens of them every week, and then eventually even potentially hundreds of them. So I definitely recommend that you accumulate those arena crystals, and the arena crystals do give you a combination of gold and energon. You get both. I recommend that you open up arena crystals in bulk, so you open up a lot at a time because you will get more. And generally speaking, you're going to get energon and on a 1-to-1 basis, meaning if you open up 100 arena crystals, you'll generally average around 100 energon. Sometimes you'll definitely get more than that, sometimes less, but that's a reasonable expectation to have. And then I also want to mention that you can get energon from the raid store once per month, and I will talk about the raid store in a minute. You can pick up 200 energon every month from that, which is really nice. And the gold arena is also an excellent place to pick up a fair amount of energon. So you want to start accruing it as much as possible. And there are some ways that you want to spend Energon. There are other ways that you don't really want to spend Energon. Okay, so one is in these daily deals that will come up nearly every day. You'll have these offers. So right now, there's a deal to get these elite fortification crystals for the new bot Ironhide. Some of these deals will give you crystals like bot crystals. Some of them will give you spark deals, ore deals, things like that. A lot of these daily deals are not very good. They tend to be expensive. Some of them are thousands of Energon. There are some more useful deals for higher level players that come around every now and then. I will say one deal that's very worthwhile relating to gold is the gold deal. So usually about twice a month, the gold deal will come up for 500 Energon. You get 750,000 gold plus 15 gold crystals. Usually experienced players don't need that, but if you're a newer player, that can be very worthwhile. But I do want to highlight one thing that you will want to be saving up Energon for early on, and that is the mastery cores. So you have in the miscellaneous store, you have the tier 1 mastery core for 75 Energon and the tier 2 mastery core for 350. The tier 2 cores are much more expensive, but you use these to unlock masteries. Okay? I did a video on masteries, so if you have questions about them, I would check that out. But I will just say that a lot of these masteries do require the tier 1 and tier 2 cores, and you need a lot of them in order to rank up masteries. So I would start saving Energon for that early on, because you're going to want to start using masteries as soon as you can, because in some cases you're going to need hundreds or even thousands of Energon to buy enough of these cores in order to unlock certain masteries. So for example, right now, if I wanted to unlock the Stupefy mastery, I need one tier 1 mastery core for rank 1, but as the ranks go up, by the time I get to rank 4 and 5, I need 2, I need 3, so it's a lot, okay? So I would highly recommend you save Energon early on for mastery cores, and I'll get into a few reasons you would not want to spend Energon, or things that you would not want to spend Energon on a little bit later. But I also want to talk about gold. Okay, so gold you're always going to need all the time. So I highly recommend that you try to get as much of it as possible, because even if you don't need gold today, you will tomorrow or next week. It's just absolutely crucial for ranking up your bots. So the first thing you want to do is put bots on your base. So as you can see, you can put 7 bots on your base, and they passively generate gold every 8 hours. So you can claim gold from your base every 8 hours, so that's up to 3 times per day. And the amount of gold that you get increases with the strength of your bot. So once you eventually have ranked up 5-star bots, you're going to be getting a lot of gold a few times a day. But even early on, even if you only have 2- and 3-star bots, put them on your base. It doesn't matter if it's a strong base or not, they will start to generate gold, and that will be very helpful. You will also get gold through some of the same ways that you get Energon. So you will get gold through story missions, you will get gold through time slides, you will get gold through arenas and the arena crystals. I also want to mention away missions. So you will get gold through away missions as well as ore and ore crystals. You can also get shards, you can get bot chips, but these are very worthwhile. I highly recommend that you do away missions. You get 4 of them every 2 hours. And for the most part, you're sending a couple of bots away for usually a matter of minutes, and you earn a nice return on your investment for doing so. So if I wanted to right now do an away mission, right? So in this example, I'm getting, nearly 6,000 in gold, and I'm only spending a little over 200. So you're getting a significant return on your investment. So while you're playing, I would recommend that you do away missions frequently. You will earn lots of gold and other things by doing so. That brings up one other thing that I want to talk about relating to gold, which of course is relics. So relics you're going to find in the raid store. You have some relics that are here all the time, and then you have a rotating cast of relics that are changed out usually every 2 months or so. Now these 4 relics down here, the Star Saber, the Allspark, the Golden Disc, and the Cloaking Field are all very worthwhile. And I will definitely recommend that you pick all of them up over time. So the Star Saber and the Cloaking Field do give gold generation. meaning with the Star Saber, you're getting 10% additional gold, as well as attack and health in story and special missions. The Cloaking Field gives 10% gold, as well as XP and raid chips. Whereas the Golden Disc gives you attack and health in alliance missions, and the Allspark gives you attack and health in all game modes. But for gold purposes, the Cloaking Field and the Star Saber are very important. And you also have these rotating relics. So right now you have the Jazz Relic, which gives you health in alliance missions, but you also have the Hound Relic, which is a gold generating relic. So if you buy the Gold Hound Relic, you get 10% gold generation. And if you get the silver one as well, you get 5% gold generation. Okay? Now, a couple of things. How do you get relics? Well, you get them with these yellow relic tickets, and you obtain them through completing time slides. You get them for exploration, okay? So each difficulty will give you a few relic tickets. You get 2 relic tickets for exploring Novice, as you can see here, and then you get 3 for Captain, 4 for Commander, and then ultimately you get 5 when you explore Prime. So I highly recommend that you start exploring whatever difficulties you can, build up those relic tickets so that you can start to buy relics. And the gold generating relics are super important. So as you can see right now, I have all of my gold generating relics on my base, which means I'm getting 35% additional gold for away missions, like I just did, for the gold that I'm earning through time slides, story missions, through arenas. If I were to buy the gold deal right now, I would get 35% additional gold. So having your gold relics on your base, especially when you're not actively fighting and don't need other relics, is a very good idea because you will get a lot more gold, okay? And so, like I said, earning gold as much as you can is really important because you're going to need a lot of it, particularly when you're ranking up 4 and 5 star bots. Now, the nice thing about Gold and Energon, which sit up here in the upper right-hand corner, is that there is no limit to them and there's no expiration. You can build them up as much as you want. That is very different, however, from the next thing that I want to talk about, which is ore and sparks. Okay, so those are the 2 other vital components to ranking up bots, and you will also need lots and lots of sparks and lots of ore. So ore is used in terms of class ore. So like these yellow ones, these are demo ore, and then you have basic ore, which is all-purpose ore that you can use with generally with every type of bot. Now you can use different class ore for different classes, meaning you can put brawler ore into a demo bot or whatever. But generally speaking, you want to amass class ore and pour it into that specific class when you're ranking up because you do get bonuses that way. Now, in terms of ore, you will also earn ore from away missions, story missions, time slide missions. You can buy ore from the raid store, and then you also have, by the way, the tier 2 and tier 3 ore crystals, which are pretty fantastic. I don't have any in my queue right now, but those are really great for giving class ore as well as gold, as well as sparks, other goodies. The away missions that you get do get better when your roster improves. So I think once you get to the point to where you have, I think, a few rank 3 5-star bots, you go from tier 2 ore crystals to tier 3 ore crystals, and then you go from, I believe, 4-star bot shards to 5-star bot shards. Either way, though, the tier 2 and tier 3 ore crystals are excellent. But the thing about ore, as well as sparks, is that there are expiration dates on them. So in your queue, basically in your main inventory here, you have 80 ore pieces, which is not a lot. And then in terms of sparks, which I'll get to in a moment, you also have limits to how many sparks of each kind you can have. Once you have an overflow, you go to your stash, right? This is where all the excess ore and sparks go. But there is an expiration date. You can only hold ore and sparks in your stash for up to 13 days. So it's about 2 weeks. So you have to either sell them or use them in that period of time. And so you always need to be mindful of that. But like I said, you want to be obtaining as much ore as you can. And sparks, you're also going to be getting sparks from things like time slides, certainly from some of the arenas, from alliance missions is very important. You can get them from ore crystals. You want to build those sparks up because, again, you might not need a certain spark right now, but you will soon. And nothing is more frustrating than when you want to rank up a bot, but you don't have the sparks for it. So do all you can to build up your stashes of ore and sparks. So I want to touch upon XP a little bit. Okay, so XP, like a lot of games like this, is very important for leveling up. So in this game, you go up to Commander level 60 at the maximum. And you want to get your level up as quickly as you can. Now, it does take a very long time to get to level 60. The nice thing is, when you're starting out, if you're playing regularly, you can get up to the mid-levels fairly quickly. You can get up to level 20 or 30 without that much work. The progress simply slows over time. But you want to put the effort in because it affects, for example, your mission energy, which is here in the upper center part of the console. And so at level 60, you get 75 energy. You want as much energy as possible to do things like story and special missions because you generate energy one every 6 minutes. And if you run out, your only option is to either wait or you can buy energy mission refills with Energon, which is fine, but you don't want to have to do that all of the time. So increasing your level through getting lots and lots of XP will put you on the path towards getting to level 60. The other thing that leveling up is very important for, of course, is masteries, because you get mastery points. Once you get to around level 20, it might be a little lower or higher, that unlocks masteries. Once you get to level 60, you have 43 mastery points. When you're below level 60, you will have fewer. But like I said before, I do recommend that you start investing in masteries as soon as you can, because you have lots of attack masteries, offensive masteries, defensive masteries, unique abilities, lots of really good things that will strengthen your teams and help you out a lot, especially once you get into more difficult fights. You don't want to ignore masteries for long periods of time. Do start investing in them as soon as you can, and XP is very important to that. Now, like I said, you're generating XP through time slides and through story missions. The nice thing about XP is that you can farm for it even after you've explored, let's say, a story mission. So if you've completed Act 3 or Act 2, you can go back in, do a lane, or even just fight a couple of bots, and you will be able to claim the XP for it. And the other thing that I want to mention here is boosts, okay? So boosts are an interesting part of this game. They're very helpful. You have attack boosts, damage boosts, health boosts. You have boosts that are relevant to alliance missions, boosts that are helpful in story missions, but you also have these XP boosts, right? So for example, here you have the 50% HP boost for 12 hours. That means that when you're doing missions, you generate 50% more XP for that period of time. And you also have XP boosts for 2 hours and 30 minutes. You can get them from crystals, from the raid store. You'll get them free sometimes from the calendar, stuff like that. I definitely recommend using them when you're playing a lot, because it will just help you to make progress more quickly. Now, once you get to level 60, XP becomes utterly irrelevant, but until that time, you want to maximize the amount of XP that you're getting as much as possible. So I want to touch on the calendar real quick. So in addition to the daily objectives, I want to mention that you do have the monthly objectives that reset every 4 to 5 weeks, and you get lots of goodies from these from completing them. Now, when you're a new player, and you're not going to be able to complete all of these objectives, but getting through as many of them as you can will help you out a lot. You've got crystals, you've got shards, you've got bot chips, you've got signatures, you've got lots of really nice things in here. So you want to pay attention and try to complete as many of these monthly objectives as you can. And then you have the calendars. Okay, so you have 2 weekly calendars, the Alliance calendar, once you're part of an alliance, that gives you gold every day, and then the 7-day calendar, which gives you premium bot shards every day. The main calendar, though, is the monthly calendar, which in this case right now is a special calendar. We have the fortification event because we just got Ironhide, and last month they did a calendar for Skywarp. But regardless, whether it's a special calendar like right now or it's just the standard monthly calendar, you do want to make sure that you log in at least once a day to claim the rewards. Because first of all, there's pretty good rewards that, again, are usually even more helpful for newer players. But more importantly, you don't want to miss days, because if you start skipping days, you will not be able to claim the rewards for later in the month. It's an accumulative calendar. And generally speaking, the rewards towards the end of the month, say the last 7 to 10 days of the month are the best rewards. You want to be able to get them because you're getting, repair kits, you're getting shards, you're getting crystals, you're getting sparks, you're getting Energon. This month we're getting a free 4-star Ironhide. If you want to be able to claim all of that, you just have to log in at least once a day. So even if you're not playing, just log in for a few minutes, claim your rewards, and then back out. And by the way, this is April. This is the 5th anniversary of the game this week. And so there will be almost certainly an anniversary calendar, which will have some nice goodies as well. Okay. So with that said, I want to talk about crystals. So there are all kinds of crystals in this game that serve all kinds of purposes. You have essence crystals and signature crystals and ore crystals and mod crystals and bot crystals and arena crystals. The list goes on and on and on. But I want to focus on bot crystals because when you are a newer player, you're probably going to want to open up lots of bot crystals because you're going to want to build your roster, get better bots, get higher tier bots, and so forth and so on. This is one area, however, where I highly recommend that you do not spend your Energon. Meaning, do not spend Energon on things like premium bot crystals or any of the specialty crystals. Like this month, we have the Boombox crystal, which gives you an increased chance to get Blaster. And then you also have these fortification crystals, which give you a chance to get the new Ironhide. The reason why I would not spend Energon is because these are RNG-based crystals. You see this in a lot of games, the random number generator, which means that you're having a chance to get a certain bot or a certain tier of bot. And so if you look at just say the fortification crystal, it's a 2 to 4-star bot crystal. As you can see, you have a very high chance to get a 2-star bot and a very low chance to get a 4-star bot and a tiny chance to get the new 4-star Ironhide. And so if you spend between 1 and 200 Energon to get these types of crystals, the vast majority of the time you're going to pull a 2-star, maybe a 3-star, which you're not going to want because 2 and 3-star bots become very irrelevant early on in this game. You're going to be focused on 4 and 5-star bots quite quickly. So let yourself accumulate these crystals naturally. There's all kinds of ways that you can get crystal shards. You can get crystals and rewards. You can get crystals from calendars. You can get crystals from missions. There's lots of ways to get crystals. You will get plenty of them. And so when you do get them, go ahead and open them, but don't spend Energon on them because you'll be disappointed almost all of the time. And that is super important to bear in mind. And then I would also say about crystals, when you're a newer player, you don't have to hoard them. You don't have to save up lots and lots of them. But once you get to a point to where you have a decent roster of bots, you have, a decent amount of gold coming in, you have some sparks, I would save them. That's for a few reasons. Number one, you do have the crystal opening event with alliance events that happens a few times a year. That's a very good event that you want to save your crystals for. And also, you just want to be able to maximize the amount of whatever you're trying to get when you open crystals, right? So you only want to open crystals when you need to open crystals. And so if you open up 100 gold crystals, you're going to get a lot more gold than if you open up 1. And the same thing, by the way, is true with bot crystals. You're always going to have a low chance to get the bot that you want with these types of crystals. But if you open up 100 premium bot crystals, you're a lot more likely to pull a few 4-stars than if you only open 1 at a time. So like I said, once you have a decent roster, once you've made some progress in this game, I would recommend saving them and only opening the crystals that you need to open. Okay, so I would like to go over the store briefly because within the store, you have several different types of things that you can purchase using in-game currency as well as using real money. So in terms of real money, you have Energon that is available every day. I will not tell you whether to spend money or not. That is your choice. I will say, though, that a lot of these deals tend to be very expensive, not really worth it for most players. They are very rarely discounted, which is unfortunate. And I don't think you should ever feel like you need to spend money because you don't. If you want to make progress on something very quickly, or if you just want to support the game, that's totally fine. But don't ever feel pressure to spend money because you do not need to spend money to do well in this game. You just have to have patience. You need to grind a lot. You need to play a lot. If you do that, you can achieve anything without spending money. With that said, you can get Energon every day. Then you also have the limited store, which changes daily. So right now we have this unusual offer where you can buy a 5-star Ironhide for $100. This is obviously very rare because we don't get new bots very often. But then you also have these rotating daily deals that usually go by class or correspond to the daily mission of the day, right? Because 6 days a week, you have class-specific missions for each class. And then on Sundays, you have the more generic daily missions. And so like today, for example, you can get alpha sparks, you can get basic sparks, things like that. Now, I will have to say that these deals are actually probably among the better deals because they're cheaper. They're less than $10. You can get, tier 1 or 2 alpha sparks. You can get T3 basic sparks. You can pick up some ore. I remember buying deals like this a few times early on. Again, you don't have to at all, but if you're in need of sparks or something like that, they can be helpful. But then that leads us to the in-game currency sections of the store. So you have the featured bots. This is very important. So every month, there are 3 to 4 featured bots. Now, this used to run on a specific schedule for a couple of years. So you knew the bots that were coming every month for a long time. But last month, when Skywarp came out, they changed the calendar. So now we have a new rotation of bots. And so for the time being, we don't know which bots are coming, let's say, next month. But that's fine. The principle is the same. You have 3 to 4 bots every month. So you can buy a 3 to 5-star version of the featured bots. I would recommend saving up for 4-star and specifically 5-star bots. It does take time. You get them with these bot chips, which you can get from away missions, from arenas, from alliance missions, and particularly from exploring the time slides. You will get a nice chunk of bot chips from exploring those. And then once you get up to 100,000 or 1,000,000, you can buy, let's say, a 5-star blaster if you'd like to. Okay, and you can also use them to dupe bots. So if you already have a 5-star blaster, but he's not awakened, you could buy him from the store, and that would awaken him, give him 5 sig levels, and also give you the gold and ore, the stuff that you would already get if you just pulled him from a crystal. So I recommend saving up these bot chips and only spending them when there are bots that you either want to get new or that you want to dupe. And these featured bots, by the way, are also relevant to the monthly achievements, because within the monthly achievements, pulling 3, 4, and 5-star featured bots does give you some goodies. You get bot chips, you get signatures, and particularly, by the way, with the 5-star featured bots, you get 100,000 bot chips, and you get 5 5-star signature crystals. And 5-star sigs are probably the rarest currency in this game. They're incredibly hard to get, so you want to try to get those to feed signatures into your 5-star bots for sure. Okay, and then I just want to touch upon the Titan store. So you have the Titan bots, which are in 5-star form anyway, only achievable through the Titan store. Now, you're not going to be getting many Titan fragments at first, and you really need to be in an alliance to generate them regularly. But once you are in an alliance, you will be earning Titan fragments every week, and it takes some time, but eventually you'll have a couple 100,000 and you'll be able to start buying these bots. And so if you want to buy bots like Megatronus or Necro or any of these bots in 5-star form, you need these Titan fragments. And so I do recommend that you get into an alliance in particular. You can also get Titan fragments through the Titan mission, through exploring Act 4, things like that, LOC 3, but those things are going to be a ways off. So the main way that you want to accumulate the Titan fragments is through alliance missions. It's a slow process, but it's a very steady one. And then you do, of course, have the raid store. We talked about this a little bit, but I just want to mention that besides relics and besides things that are in the store every day, like this ore, you do have a rotating cast of things in the raid store. And this is on a schedule that has not changed. So it is a 4-week, 28-day schedule. You could find it through a friend or on Discord or something like that. So you always know what's going to be in the raid store the next day, and so that can help you plan when to raid and how much to raid. Very, very helpful. And there's a lot of really good, useful things, again, especially for newer players. You can get sparks from the store, you can get sigs, you can get shards. You can get crystals. There's a lot of really helpful things that will be beneficial to newer players, so I would pay attention to this. And so generally speaking, whether you spend money or not, you want to familiarize yourself with the store, with the in-game currencies, and make plans so that you're allocating things like your bot chips, your raid chips, and your Titan fragments wisely, okay? Because they will help you out quite a lot as time goes on. Okay, so there's just a couple more things that I want to cover here. The first is joining an alliance. So this is something that you're going to want to do as soon as you can, okay? I would say certainly once you've gotten to a point to where you're at least decent at the game, you feel like you have a little bit of confidence, you have some 4-star bots, and certainly once you have even a couple of 5-star bots, or before that, get yourself into an alliance, because alliance missions are the most important part of the game. They run every week for 4 days. There are lots of alliance events, like the crystal opening that I mentioned. There's item use, there's bot level and rank up. There's all kinds of alliance events, which can net you some nice rewards. And of course, there are the most consistent and best rewards in the game are rewarded through alliance missions. And so if you're not in an alliance, you're going to be missing out on quite a lot. And being part of an alliance is not only fun, but it helps you to improve in the game, which you're going to want to do. And so when you're a newer player, it can be a little bit difficult because you have 100 alliance levels, right? It goes from difficulty 1 to 100. The large majority of alliances are doing D40 plus. That's because the rewards start to get better in the D40s, but there are other alliances doing 20s, doing 30s that will be more welcoming to newer players. Now, there's a few ways you can go about this. You can go on Discord, which you should join the Discord server in general. You can find tips, general information, strategies. You can make friends. Obviously, all of Kabam's announcements about characters and everything, they are done through Discord. But you can also find an alliance. So you can go to the recruiting tab where leaders of alliances are recruiting. They're not usually looking for brand new players, but occasionally they might be. And then you can also go to the looking for alliance tab and just say, hey, I'm a newer player, I'm looking for a team. And then you want to give them a screenshot of your bots, which looks like this. It'll show your top bots and just say what you're looking for. If you're not familiar with difficulty, just say that you're looking for a low difficulty. You can do that. Now, you can just join open alliances. So you have both open and closed alliances in this game, right? So if you go to alliance and then you search, you'll have some recommended alliances that are just kind of based on your roster and everything. But you'll see that the green ones are open. You can just join them without asking. The closed ones you have to request. But if you're a lower level player, there'll be lots of open ones. The only problem with open ones is that many of them are inactive. They're not going to be exploring all the battle groups. They might not be doing anything, actually. So you may need to join a couple of them at first before you end up finding an alliance that's actually active and playing every day. Worst case scenario, you could go into global chat, right? So you have 2 chats in this game. You have alliance chat and global chat. I will say, though, generally speaking, you want to avoid global chat like the plague. It is horrendous. It is awful. There are all kinds of just crazy people on there. I think I turned it off within 2 hours of starting this game. But the one instance in which you might reach out on global chat would be to find an alliance. And if you do so, if you get lucky there, find your alliance and then get off global chat as quickly as possible. I think that's actually a very good piece of advice. Do not use global chat in this game. You don't need it, okay? So anyway, get yourself into an alliance, and then preferably, once you get to a point to where you're a relatively good player, you want to get yourself into an alliance that tests you. I do recommend doing a slightly higher difficulty than you're comfortable with, but of course, the time for that will come whenever it comes. So there are 2 other things I want to go over here. The first is ranking up and forging. Okay, so I talked about this a little bit in my anti-tier list series, but I just want to mention a couple things about ranking up. The first is that once you're getting 4-star and particularly 5-star bots, you do want to be selective about which bots you decide to rank up. In other words, don't make the same mistake I did where I was just ranking up every 5-star I got because I was excited. And the reason for that is because it takes an enormous amount of resources, gold, ore, and sparks, to rank up these bots. And you don't want to end up having a large roster of rank 2 and rank 3 bots that you hardly ever use, because it's going to take a long time to rank some of these bots up. And so what I would do is, when you start to get 5-star bots in particular, only rank up bots that you are sure that you really enjoy playing with, that you play well with, that fit your style, and which you're going to use a lot. Because you will find that over time, you use a lot of the same bots over and over again. And so if you pull a 5-star bot and you're not sure about it, play around with it as a 3-star or a 4-star. See if you like it. See if it suits you before you decide to rank it up. And that might mean, by the way, that you skip over a couple of the first 5 stars you get. You know, as tempting as it will be to rank them up, don't rank them up unless you feel confident using those bots, because some bots you're going to use a lot more than others. Trust me on that. So I would just say be selective. And more importantly, when it comes to 5 stars in particular, I would recommend building up an initial 5-bot team, or maybe a 6-bot team if you want one from every class. Because most missions in this game are 3 to 5 bots. You will find, like I said, you're using a lot of the same bots over and over again for time slides, for story missions, for alliance missions, for raids. Get a small core group of bots first, and then you can expand later. If you do that, you are concentrating your resources into bots that you actually use. And, you know, if you're building up a teams and you're thinking about things like synergies and things like that, you will build an initial strong team, and then you can start to play around and rank up other bots just more casually. And so then that leads to forging. Forging is even more important because it requires even more, and actually way more, resources than ranking up. So getting a 5-star bot to Forge 100 will take way more resources than ranking that bot up. It takes a long time. It takes an absurd amount of resources. And so I would say, number one, only forge one bot at a time, 2 at most, because it's just going to take so many resources. And second of all, only forge up bots that you are absolutely certain that you love to play with and that you use all the time. You would not want a fully forged 5-star bot that you barely use. That would feel like a huge waste of your time and resources. And kind of similar to what I said about ranking up, you want to focus on one at a time, because you also, kind of like you don't want a lot of rank 2 bots just sitting around, you don't want a lot of forged 10 to 20 bots lying around. Because forging really shows at high forge levels. So when you get a bot up to Forge 100 or close to it, you're basically giving that bot roughly the equivalent of another rank. That's basically what happens, right? So my Megatronus is rank 6, fully forged. It's almost like he's at rank 7. It's kind of like that. And it really does show once you get up to the high forge levels. Whereas if your bot is only at Forge 10 or 20, you don't really notice much of a difference in terms of health and attack. But once you get up to 80, 90, 100, you notice a big difference. It is noticeable. And so that's really, really important, okay? One at a time, only the bots that you use the most, particularly in the most difficult content. And then finally, I want to touch upon gameplay and just general improvement, how you get better at this game. Well, there's a couple things I want to say about that. Number one, you need to bear in mind when you play this game that the most important thing you're going to want to do is get your defensive game down. What that means is you need to be able to learn how to dodge, to evade, to sidestep, to avoid the opponent's attacks, and to anticipate the opponent's attacks. Because when you're starting out, when you're doing very easy fights, you can just fight very mindlessly, very aggressively, without any kind of strategy, and you'll win most of the time. Those fights are really easy. But once you start doing more difficult fights, where the rating of the opponents goes way up, the intelligence of the AI goes up significantly as well. They get a lot smarter, they get a lot faster, and they also get very good at anticipating you. They will attack you when you're vulnerable, when you lower your defenses. And so if you don't have your defensive game down, it doesn't matter how strong you are on offense, you will get destroyed. You will end up getting killed all the time, and you'll probably end up just really frustrated and maybe even want to quit the game. If you want to be able to do well in this game and advance to the highest levels of the game, you need to be able to understand how the AI works and avoid and dodge and sidestep their attacks regularly, because I will also say that blocking is not going to save you. Blocking is a last resort. It'll help you out occasionally, but if you're blocking all the time, you're going to take a lot of damage. You need to be able to not get hit in general. Get to the point to where you have a lot of perfect fights, or at least fights where you're taking minimal damage. The best way to do that initially is to simply go into some fights. You can do this in arenas very easily. You can do this in a time slide and just move around the arena and avoid being hit. So in other words, don't even worry about attacking. It's not about trying to win the fight. I would just go into an arena fight, great example, and dance around the arena, move around a lot, and do everything you can to avoid the opponent's attacks. At first, they will be hitting you a lot, but then you'll start to detect patterns. You will see a sort of rhythm to how they fight. They will tend to launch certain attacks at certain times, and you will get increasingly better at avoiding their hits. And once you do that, that will really allow your gameplay to improve more than just about anything else, because the offense is important, mastering the kits of the boss is important, but if you don't know how to avoid attacks, sidestep, and so forth, you are going to fail in this game pretty quickly. I would also say a couple other things about improvement. One is that once you have your dodging game fairly well down, you want to be doing difficult content. So like I said, get into an alliance doing a higher difficulty than you think you might be able to handle, because you will improve if you practice. Same thing with time slides. So at first, maybe you're doing novice. If you do that, the next time do captain, right? If you do that, then do commander. Test yourself, okay? Always try to do more difficult content than you think that you can handle. And then eventually, I do recommend, certainly once you have maxed out 4-star bots and, a few 5 stars, you absolutely do want to try LOC, so Legends of Cybertron. You have 3 missions there. You're not going to be doing LOC 2 or 3 for a long time, but even just LOC 1, Rulers of Chaos, very worthwhile, because those longer fights, these are the longest fights in the game for the most part. They are a fantastic training ground, because if you can survive a 5 or a 10-minute fight, then that shows that your skills are improving and you are ready for the big leagues, okay? This is why people are always practicing against bots like Mixmaster in LOC 1 or Primal in LOC 2. They are just fantastic training grounds. So you just go into an ROK fight. It's not about getting through the whole map or even winning the fight. Just see how well you can do, take as little damage as possible. Eventually, you will beat Mixmaster. Then you move on to Sideswipe. Then you move on to Grinder. And then eventually, you'll beat the entire map, right? It's all about patience and practice. But you need to be doing challenging content. If you're doing easy stuff all the time, you're not going to improve and you'll make very little progress in the game. So that's all I have for this video. We've obviously covered a lot of ground here. At the same time, I can't possibly give you a tip for every possible situation that could ever happen. So if you do have questions, let me know in the comments. And then I also just want to say that there are certain areas that I touched upon in this video briefly that I will make longer videos about. So I am going to do a more in-depth video about LOC. I will do one about AMs. There's a few other videos that I have in mind. So I am going to cover some of these topics in more depth, but I just hopefully wanted this to be a very good, solid overview of the things that you need to pay attention to in this game if you're going to do well. So just remember, do all you can to accumulate gold, energon, sparks, and ore. That's very, very important. Work on your XP, log in, do the calendar, do your daily and monthly objectives as much as possible, do away missions, be selective with crystals and don't spend energon on them. Get your relics as soon as you can. Get your mastery cores as soon as you can. Start using masteries as soon as you can. Familiarize yourself with the store, and then be selective and careful with the bots that you rank up and forge. Get yourself into an alliance, and most importantly, practice as much as you can in difficult and challenging content. If you focus on those things, you will make fewer mistakes, you will progress much more quickly in this game, and you'll have more fun doing it. So I will leave it there for now. Please do take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you all again soon.